welcome to HOA Fight Club. I'm Raylene Shafano. Have you ever thought about selective enforcement and what that really means? Let's talk about how people are fined, what they're fined for, and what is selective enforcement. Well, the first selective enforcement, of course, is the easy one where you know that if you don't mow your lawn and you get a fine, but the neighbor neglects their lawn and they don't get a fine. The problem is how do you prove that the board didn't fine the neighbors for the same crime type thing, for the same violation? You never know who the board is fining because they never disclose that information. They try to do it in executive session. They try to make sure that nobody else knows what's going on with those fines. A lot of the hearings aren't public, so you have no idea if somebody else is actually being fined. And they do that way so that they can never be accused of special enforcement. Now, the one thing that people don't look at is the special enforcement for the board. If you're in violation of the condo documents or the HOA documents, the governing documents, or the rules and regulations, the board can fine you. But what happens if the board is in violation of those same governing documents? Well, that's the catch. They get to vote on whether they fine themselves. Now, that's selective enforcement. So if they are held above the law or have more rights than another person, they are given a special privilege to hold themselves harmless. Now, we should have property managers and attorneys that would actually tell the board, look, you're doing this wrong. I have an association that is having executive board meetings and making decisions and voting in those meetings. Well, that's a violation of the governing documents and the law. All decisions have to be made in a public meeting, or at least talked about in a public meeting first. So they can't, in most states, they can't hold the hearings in private executive session. They have to do it in public session. But if people don't know their rights, they're allowing this to continue. So you always have to know your rights. If you want to prove selective enforcement, my suggestion is if your grass is a certain height and somebody else is higher than yours, make sure you take pictures. Get a ruler, put the ruler out, double check everything. If they're blaming you for having the wrong color, but you did have the right color, expose that, take pictures, get as much evidence you can, get a hearing with the board. And the one thing I always suggest is get a witness. So have somebody CC'd on your emails back and forth to the board. You can always CC my email, hoafightclub@gmail.com. You can CC me so that you have somebody else as a witness to the information you're sending from the board. Now, if you send information by email, some states don't have to accept that as notification. But if you send it by certified mail, they do have to acknowledge your letter. There are states that actually have penalties in the laws every 10 days. If you request records, I think it's Colorado or California, might be both. Have laws that if you request records every 10 days, there's a $500 penalty for the association who doesn't comply with those records in the timely manner of 10 days. Now, every 10 days you ask, that's another $500 fine. Now, the only way to get that money is to sue in civil court, but civil court is also small claims court. So you can take them in Washington state, it's $10,000. So you can take anyone to small claims court and sue for that money. If you are being fined by a board, I would contest those fines. I would claim that there's selective enforcement. I would have as much evidence as I could to prove that it was selective enforcement. And I would take that and file it in small claims court. Most people don't know that small claims court in some states, Washington state is one, it's done mostly online. So you can actually do all the court process online and you can do your mediation online. Mediation is free. So you pay your $50 for your small claims court, and they offer free mediation in Washington state to keep things from going to trial. So if you believe that you have this selective enforcement or any enforcement that's not legal, take it to small claims court. This way, the association attorney doesn't have to be involved, and that saves the association money. And you can fight your battle or have your opinions done and seen by an impartial tribunal, which makes it very simple. I think a lot of things could be solved if we use the small claims court a lot more often. Selective enforcement shouldn't be allowed, but you have to be able to prove that it is selective enforcement, and that is really difficult to do. Now, Not all states make that records for fines and fees private. I know Washington State, if you are fining people, that should be a public record for the homeowners to see because they need to know who's causing problems in their association. What if this person runs for a board member position and they are doing nothing but causing the association problems and they are not following any of the rules and regulations? The other homeowners would need to know that so they don't vote for this person to be on the board to make decisions for them. They need to be educated. The attorneys and property managers should not just be educating the board, they should be educating all and making sure everyone understands the documents. Now, we know that that's not the case, that they only educate the board on what they think the board should do, what they think is important. Fines and liens and foreclosure, that's how the property managers and attorneys make extra money. Well, that's how the attorneys make all their money is collections and foreclosure. They do not make money unless they sue you in civil court. So most of the time, it's just liens and foreclosures. And if you look at most of the records of any association, you will see the public county records will show all those liens and foreclosures, and you can find out how educated your board is on doing liens and foreclosures. I know a lot of them are very smart on that process, even if they don't know how to manage your money or if they're charging for selective enforcement. So know your rights, and these are my opinions, and I'll see you on the next one.